Hello, and a very warm welcome to our 21st Democracy Talk. My name is Diana Trevino. I will be moderating the session of today, and I warmly welcome also you, Sudha Reddy. She will be our guest speaker today, and we can all turn on our cameras now so that we can see our faces if you want. And Sudha Reddy, hello, very warm welcome. We cannot hear you. You are
Yeah,
perfect.
thank you.
So thank you very much, Sudha Reddy, for joining us today. And for your information, Sudha Reddy is the founder and director of Eco Foundation for Sustainable Alternatives, and she's also member of the advisory board of Fox. So you are very welcome to our democracy talks. And she will be speaking about the topic breaking barriers, building futures, life skills education as a pathway to democratic leadership, empowering rural adolescent girls in India. So I'm very interested in your topic, Sudha, and I especially think that you will bring in a more international perspective also on the topic of education for democracy, because in our previous sessions, we very often had an European focus on education for democracy. So I would like to hand over directly to you. If you want, you can introduce yourself also in some words, and then you can start with your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm, yeah, as Diana said, I'm Sudha Reddy. My name is Sudha Reddy. I'm from Bangalore. It's in South India. And I represent, in fact, I'm director of Eco Foundation for Sustainable Alternatives as an NGO based in Bangalore. So we work especially with the marginalized sections of the community, also connect with the at the global level, whatever issues happening at the kind of policies which are with the global or national level, which are directly affecting the marginal communities. So there is a link between the marginal as well as the national and global too. So thank you so much for this opportunity. In fact, I can say, yeah, do namaste to everyone now. And in fact, it is a deep honor to be here with you today. Uh, I extend my sincere thanks to European University Continuing Education Network and the Democrat Project for this opportunity to speak at Democracy Talks. In fact, I must thank Fox, Georgios, and Manan too here. For over 3 decades, I have walked alongside the communities in rural India, particularly with adolescent girls whose lives often lie at the intersections of poverty, patriarchy, and invisibility. In these journeys, I have seen firsthand how education, not just literacy, but the life skill education rooted in rights and agency, can ignite powerful transformation. Today, I want to share a story not just of personal reflection, but of collective resistance. A story of young girls, in fact, in remote villages who, through life skill education, are not only finding their voices, but claiming their rightful place in public life. They are stepping into local government meetings, questioning child marriage, organizing peers, and demanding access to health and safety and dignity. This is not just about girls becoming leaders. This is about reshaping the democracy itself, making it truly decentralized, inclusive, and just. Because democracy cannot thrive when half the population is silenced. And it cannot be built from the top down. It must grow from the ground up, from, from every girl who learns to speak up and stand tall and lead. So this is, in a way, it is also connected at the global level. Though we work at the village level, it has its own impact and policy advocacy right at the international level. Thank you. So let's start our presentation. Yeah. Let me start with a question we often take for granted. What do you think? This simple invitation to express a thought can be revolutionary in the villages where I work. In rural India, most adolescent girls have never been asked for their opinion at home or in school or in public life. They grow up learning that obedience is more important than curiosity, that their value lies in silence and not speech. This silence is not natural. It is constructed by gender norms, caste hierarchies, and deep poverty. And it often leads to early marriage, school dropout, and invisibility. But when we ask, what do you think? We are not just asking a question. We are unpacking centuries of silence and planting a seed for democratic dialogue. And why focus on adolescent girls? Because adolescence is a fork in the road. This is the moment when the presence or absence of care, opportunity, and empowerment can change the entire course of a young person's life. It is when identity begins to form, when independence stirs. Yet, ironically, it often when control over the girl's life is handed over to the others, like families, customs, systems, so on. So, when we support girls at this moment, not just as beneficiaries, but as citizens, we are intervening at the roots of exclusion. So, coming to life skills as a democratic practice, I'll also explain what does democracy look like in everyday life of a teenage girl. It looks like critical thinking, the power to question norms. It looks like knowing her body belongs to her, not to shame or control. It looks like saying no when pressured and yes when she believes. It we work with girls to build these life skills: voice, empathy, consent, negotiation, and peer leadership. These are not just personal traits, they are the foundation of participatory democracy or of nonviolent dialogue, of citizenship rooted in rights and responsibilities. Because democracy doesn't begin in parliament, it begins when a girl learns to speak, listen, and lead. So, how do we dialogue over domination? It's a feminist ethic of leadership. At the heart of our work is a feminist political ethic, a silent revolution rooted in compassion and justice. For many of these girls, power has always meant control, silence, or fear. We help them reimagine it through empathy, listening, and shared leadership. Leadership is not about being the loudest, it is about making space for others. It is about saying your voice matters too. In fact, when we look at the African thing, it is also woven too. And here is where non-violence becomes central, not just as the absence of violence, but as a philosophy of how we engage with the disagreement and power and change. In fact, we are quite influenced by the Gandhian values and philosophy here. Girls learn that conflict doesn't have to escalate. It can be resolved through empathy, listening, and dialogue. Emotional safety is as important as intellectual growth. The role play real life conflicts with parents, teachers, even each other, and they practice de escalation and not domination. In these moments, we see what it means to teach democracy from the inside out. The feminist ethic transforms not just girls, but the spaces they inhabit. Because when girls learn to lead with care, they don't dominate, they create communities of respect. So, whether we work only at the individual level or the importance community shifts even at the global level. Now, transformation doesn't stop at the classroom door. We knew that for these changes to be lasting, families, communities must be part of the journey. And we organize community dialogues with mothers, fathers, teachers, and local leaders, including the brothers, to Were they spectacle at first? Yeah, of course, absolutely. But over time, when parents saw their daughters speaking confidently, helping peers, resolving conflicts, some of the parents who once resisted began to support, even celebrate their daughter's leadership. A mother in one village said to me, "My daughter speaks with confidence now." That one sentence, so simple, represents a monumental cultural shift. And this is not unique to India alone. When you see it, Cambodia, Kenya, and anywhere, even in the West or in the global South, you find several examples how these kind of marginalized the voices, the unheard voices have become a really voice. And when the global stories remind us, in fact, when when girls rise, communities evolve. This is what grassroots democracy look like. It's messy, it's local, but courageous. Okay, from skills to systems, what we recommend. All we have learned from for our experience. Where do you go from here? What must we do as educators, as civil society, as global citizens? Make life skills education core to schooling, not optional, not extracurricular. Train teachers in gender and caste sensitivity, especially in Indian context like India. I mean, because the caste is a major barrier. Gender too, but caste is something which is a major barrier even today. And we can take that into any other society like ethnicity, race, uh, gender is a common, cuts across, right? Promote, okay, next is promote peer-led participatory models that trust young people to lead. Engage families, communities as co-travelers. True change is intergenerational. Embed the right idea of rights with responsibilities because rights are not licenses for power but invitations to care and compassion and justice. And crucially, we must support contextual, decentralized innovations. What works in our country, even in my state, may not work in Nairobi or New York. But local wisdom always knows the way forward. Democracy education doesn't look the same everywhere, but the values, of course, they are universal. So, let me end with the voices of the girls themselves. One girl said, "I want to go back to school." Another declared, "I will not marry now." These are not just personal statements, they are democratic declarations. They are acts of everyday revolution. We often think of democracy in terms of constitutions and elections, but it also lives in these quiet, silent moments. When a girl finds her voice, she doesn't just change her life, she changes the world. These girls are not just learning to participate in democracy, they are showing us how to reimagine it. So let us listen, let us walk with them until every girl in every village and every continent has the freedom to speak, lead, and thrive. Friends, in a world shaken by polarization and violence, present in the present context and also with the future, adolescent girls remind us that peace begins with participation and justice begins with voice. Let us choose dialogue over domination. Let us replace fear with trust. Let us build a democracy where every voice matters, especially those who have been unheard for too long. Too long. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sudha Reddy, for your presentation. And I would like to invite now all of you to address questions. I see a first one from Fabian already. And I also would like then to address some questions. But let's go, Fabian. If you want, you can start.
Well, thank you. Unfortunately, I was a bit late. Sorry for that. My question sticks to the end of your presentation. I've been working with the idea of empowerment. And so my question goes that encouraging girls and women to empower themselves and to support each other is, if I got it correct, an important tool for education for democracy. And how do you think that empowerment might contribute to deepen, let's say, not a broader understanding of democracy, not an understanding that is restricted to the conventional forms of political participation, which are important as well, but to maybe also non-conventional forms of political participation?
Thank you, Fabian. Shall I start?
Yes, please.
Shall I answer? Okay. Thank you for your observation. That's very, very critical. Yes, normally when we talk about women or girls or empowerment, it goes like, okay, there's a political participation. As long as they participate in politically, that is fine. They have reached to kind of an empowerment. It's a part of it, fine, yes, but that doesn't stop there. You know why? Just mere political participation, especially in Indian context, what we have been working on. In fact, I'm quite a lot involved in local governance and also the women's participation in the political spaces. It just doesn't mean that they are sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
They are sitting in the parliament, whether they're sitting in the local government. It doesn't mean that. It is their voice, whether they have been empowered to express, to take the people's concerns and place it with the empathy, with the justice, with the very bold. Because in India, though we have a 33 now 50% reservation in local governances for the women, and which includes even the women we belong to the local governance. Marginalized communities. We call them. It's Dalits. Marginalized communities, where in fact they still don't have space. As per the rule, as per the law, they've been elected. They get elected, no doubt about it. But even today, the men represent, including in sitting in the local government offices. It's their brothers, or fathers, or husbands. Even today, this is a very big struggle. There are few examples where women really participating, taking the decisions. Decision making is a very, very crucial. It's not just participation in number. Okay, there is a 50%. Yes, there are 50%. No. Even in the parliament, there's still a big struggle still going on. It is more than 10 years in the parliament. We still don't have a 33% reservation. Even today, we are fighting for it. But there are a lot of nuances, lot of caste, dynamics, political dynamics. A lot of things do take place. So it is not just. That is why, in the beginning itself, with the girls, with the children themselves, we start with this kind of. Not mere numbers, not mere your rights. It's also with your responsibilities. And how do you care? Empathy is very, very important. How do you look at, it's not just your personal growth. It is not that one day you become a political leader, but how to bring others up together. It is being together. That kind of a value system, I know it is very, very tough now in a capitalist mode of life everywhere, but still using Gandhian values is still alive in our country, at least in some part of ourselves. So we try to bring this. It's not just mere political participation. Yeah, thank you. I think
Thank you so much.
Thank you to both of you. I think, Georges, you were first, and then Marta.
Many thanks to Sudha. an all-time colleague and friend. Thanks a lot for this, as usual, inspiring intervention. So I could tell what we were discussing before, let's say India. I had a woman prime minister a long time ago, so Indira Gandhi, right? But that didn't mean that the average Indian girl suddenly came up the caste system and the traditional society. So that's what we're talking about, empowerment, let's say, of the average person or even the lower caste and income level people. And what I wanted to ask Sudha is how easy is it, how receptive are the families of girls to allow you to do this kind of empowerment, and whether it is hosted as part of the education system or it's done on the side? Is it a civil society movement in India, or how do you organize and how you at least get accepted as a tutor and a coach for young girls that need it so much? Thank you.
Thank you, Georges. Yeah, it is a more on civil society movement right now. It's not really from the government. Of course, now new education policy of the Indian government is that there is a thing. They are also talking about including life skill education, but still it's not yet formed. And what does it mean by life skill education? I don't know. Maybe the technical knowledge of the technical part, like you are preparing for the some jobs or something like that. But how the way what we are discussing, it is mainly from the civil society movement. And yeah, entering villages, entering especially the villages where I'm talking about the remote villages, and where there's still the community, the patriarchal norms, that those dynamics are very, very strong. In fact, in these villages, there are girls who are going to colleges also. It's not that they are not studying. They are going to schools. They are going to colleges. But when it comes to their own identity, when they want to take their own decision, okay, mom, I want to stop. I don't want to stop my education. I want to continue. I want to go to a college which is far off from my place. Mother says, our parents say, no, this is the time for your marriage. It's a high rate of child marriages that is below 18 years is very high, at least in, I can say, I can watch in the way, wherever I'm working there. And of course, I know that Manan also agrees in India, it's very much, it's still alive. So this child marriage, though it is being prohibited under the law, still there are the ways, subtle ways how to manage by the parents, especially after COVID. Just after the COVID, during this, what is that called? They closed everything, right? The child marriages really increased like a right. I think Georgia's, I wrote an article in your magazine, the thing. So it's there. It's still there. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of work. It is not just, almost I can say, almost in Karnataka, more than 18% for young girls are getting married below 18. They're forced to marry. There are many other factors also into it, whether it's a poverty, whether it's a cultural dynamics, whether it is also some kind of a societal pressure. Oh, your daughter is still there. And, all these things do matter for them. And also there are some incidents like, for example, now with the mobile invasion, everywhere, online education, online, even in the schools online. So the instruments are available with the kids. So this is also the social media, also it is, I can say instigating them to get into the extramarital relationships. Is the marital or is it just relationships which are affecting? In fact, we teach even the law acts like POCSO, which is the Prevention of Children Sexual Abuse Offences Act. And these are the things the girl, both boys and girls should know what happens when it is. So these are the even Prohibition of Child Marriage Act. All these things we do bring in along with our, in the curriculum. Yeah. Did I answer, Georges, or did I divert?
Thank you very much. If it goes into the curriculum also, I understand it's more of a civil society movement, but it's creeping into the curriculum, right? It's gradually
But
or
we take
becoming.
we take the support of schools. Of course, the schools, locally schools do help us. And, they allow us to take a 1 or 2 hour session, but still we work in the communities. It's not just limited to the school alone. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, then we have Marta with your question.
Thank you, Sudha, for your presentation and for showing us a different context and the situation in India. And you mentioned the intersection of caste and gender as one of the barriers for the girls' empowerment in various areas, including labor market, but also politics, especially the formal politics. But we also know that in many societies, the formal politics is very difficult for women to get in. But at the same time, we can see that at the lower levels, within communities or in the local governments, there are more spaces for women, and it is easier for women to join and enter these areas. So I was wondering whether you could talk a bit more about this intersection of caste and gender and how young girls navigate within these cultural barriers, but also structural barriers when it comes to this local level within their communities, but also in the school settings.
Yeah. Thank you, Martha, for this question. In fact, as I explained, I think with earlier, the women, we do have in the Constitution, there's an amendment, 73rd and 74th Amendment Act, where there's a 33% reservation for women in the political participation at the local level. At the it's not at the central level, but at the local governance, or we call panchayats, village panchayats. So there is a space already legally. Legislation, it's available for the women to get into the political seats sanctioned by the Constitution itself. It is there. In fact, I can say we are much more progressive than some other countries, I can say, in that sense. Like, it's just given to us. But of course, there was a fight. There was a lot of things gone into this. At the same time, that is what I explained. Still, it is in I think it's 96, 94 and 95, I think, somewhere during that time, this constitutional change had come. But at the same time, even today, I remember, because I worked at that time with the women who are about to be, enter the local governance. They did not know what. I asked, why? What is, do you know how are you going to get elected? I mean, I'm just giving you my experience at that time. They said, we don't know. One woman told me, I still remember, my husband said, if you contest, I'll get you a saree. That's the kind of ignorance at that time. I mean, political illiteracy at that time. But now, of course, the move is moved on. Now they know where to contest. I mean, what are the segments? Which the spaces there, it's available for them. But at the same time, as you say, the gender and caste, this intersection is really something which need to be broken up. That is where we are still struggling everywhere, because even I, dreamt about casteless society in India, when I was young, to be honest. But now I say it is not possible. Why I'm saying that, even in our political dynamics, even our elections, the political parties provide they select the candidates based on how much the political leverage they have. caste leverage, which the leader must belong to that particular caste, which has lot more numbers. So this is the situation is increasing now. In fact, I'm also wondering where are we heading to? Martha is not just caste, it's also religion. Now we are entered to that stage also. So caste, class, religion is cuts across everywhere now, you know. So this is a long struggle, long struggle. There are in the local government, of course, there are spaces. There are very good. We have some examples where the local government panchayats headed by the female, the women, they're doing very well. At least they're taking up their power, authority to bring up they're doing well. But at the same time, there are few examples. Still, there are women presidents. They belong to the lower caste. They are also the women presidents in the local government. That they have. I do attend many of these, local government meetings to look at it, and also sometimes I guide them. But at the same time, it's a lot of struggle. They have to do a lot of struggle. Sometimes they themselves are co-opted by the system, corruption, and also they are also conditioned by our patriarchy. Is so much conditioned. They say, so what? If my brother, my husband comes, so what? Even that kind of a mindset, that patriarchal mindset, even today, it is very, very, very powerful. That is why even the religion is entering into this domain. Hope I made it. Is that okay,
Yes,
Martha?
yeah.
Did I answer? Yeah.
Okay, now I see Manan. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I just actually wanted to add a bit more context because what Sudha pointed out. So the way the problem really happens right now, we got a chief minister, which is sort of the head of government for a state in Delhi, which is the capital state in India. And now the chief minister is a woman. She's only the second chief minister who's woman at the moment in India. And now what's the accusation is that she's running it from a home office, and the husband is the one who's actually taking all the decisions, and she's just the one who goes to cut ribbons and is more ceremonial, even though she's the one who was like, the idea is that we have a female chief minister, but not really in practice. And that's what happens at local level. And despite this, there's also positivity, which is when we said that there will be 33% reservation in local governments, the idea was that if it's really misused, then that number will stick to 33. But organically, that number is increased to 50%. Like there's no reservation for 50%, but today in local governance, we see 50% women coming up, which means that that initial push actually helped make things easier. And now it's improving. And the idea with that was that once we prepare a base at local level, then they can go on to the state level. And then finally, we see changes at the central level organically rather than having to push it through such measures. And yeah, we are seeing progress there a bit.
Yeah. Yes, I agree, Manan. Actually, in fact, in Karnataka, in my state, it is 50% reservation already done. So I think in Andhra, in South India especially, we are much progressive compared to the North Indian states. In that sense, we do have a space, political space. They are doing good. Yeah, as you mentioned, you brought out a right point. That is, we started with a very positive thing. And it's, of course, it's a gradual progression. Because, that kind of a society we are into, it's not an easy thing for others to understand Indian context. When we talk about India and the caste, I know what is this? Still, where are you? Like in which century you are in? Like, I mean, we also look at the much egalitarian, much secular, but we also notice that even in other countries, these things do happen very subtle. When you look at the West, where is the political, franchise for the women? In France and all, it came very late. In fact, India got it. So in the constitution itself, 1947 itself, India recognized the women's franchise. It's in the constitution. So all are equal. Above 18 years, everyone has to do their exercise their voting. Voting rights are there. But it's all came, if you look at the other countries, developed countries, in fact, certain things are very positive in India when we compare to the West or the developed countries, especially for women. I'm talking about the women.
Thank you very much. I would like to focus with my, I think these are my last 2 points. I would like to speak with you, and these are focusing on your presentation a little bit more. And I'm always thinking, we know that also that education in the school context is highly important. And especially this is an area where we can have an influence, a political influence, etc. But what is with the family background? Because the family has a very high impact in how we create our identity and what we believe, etc. So my question is, how can your approach of life skills engage also the family background to participate? Because I consider it very, very important to work with adolescent girls, but there is a surrounding where they are embedded.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is not when we say we are working with adolescent girls, it's not in isolation. It can't be. We need to work with the parents, with the community, with the local leaders, with the teachers, even the men I'm talking about. In fact, my proposal is that this life skill education, especially on gender sensitivity, it should be for both boys and girls, or men and women. Yeah, it is not the problem is with this kind of education. It's like when it's only focusing on girls or women empowerment. But no, the society is changing a lot. How to address the deeper dynamics, deeper issues which have been hidden or even surfaced. Now, for example, increased rate of rape in India. Then where is that education? Where is it going on? When you focus only women, so we need to focus all others. In fact, I also look at the transgenders, sexual minorities also. There are in the communities, whether they have been integrated, inclusive, and accepting, understanding. In the villages is not a big problem, I see. That's a problem in urban areas, because I work with them also. So anyway, coming back to your point, the families definitely we need to be with them. That is why in my presentation also I focused how the initial inhibition was there, but the parents, when we talk about these things, oh, you are teaching our children, girls, become, you're teaching them to be freedom, for a freedom. Freedom means for them it is you are reckless, you are, then you will go away, you will leave the parents, or they get in. India is still with the arranged marriages. So there's, I'm giving you that is they're afraid whether the girls and boys just marry or just elope. This is still very alive in the villages. That is one of the issues, the factors for the child marriages plus the Sexual Offences Act. It's there because we have done a study on this in our state. So in order to work on those issues, we need to have that, support of the parents. Definitely. They should understand, they should support us, cooperate with us, collaborate with us, even to organize some programs. So the programs is not just for the girls exclusively, sometimes along with the boys, and sometimes, with the family, they also know what is happening to their children, when are they coming back, because once we had a where there is a remedial classes for the 10th grade children because they were poor, they could not manage. So it was a time was sending them out of their school, I mean, in the evenings, then parent trusted us. So we are able to organize even that exams are over now. So even to that day, and it's not just focusing only the girls, also the community level, even about the environment. How the water is, what is happening to water, what is happening to the trees, what is happening, and because when we talk about hygiene, menstrual hygiene, health. And when we talk about sanitary pads, which they are not used to, but hygiene, very important. So then, where is the water for hygiene? Where are the toilets for the, in Indian context, even there are no toilets, even today. There are no functional toilets in many villages, in many households. So all these are the factors come in, and also we talk about all other, not only just, we also compare, we also give the impression how in other countries, how the progressive, because we have to give the positive stories to them, how these people also can move up. So you also look at the national and international level. Maybe it's in Africa, maybe in Malaysia, or in different countries. In Bangladesh, for example, our neighborhood. Even I talk about Pakistan also. So this is how we try to bring much more encompassing work. Yeah, it's not just job or work. It is being with them, and you see their needs at that moment. We keep changing our strategies also. You are not fixed. You don't go with a particular curriculum fixed for it. We do have a base, definitely, based on our experience, based on discussion with the children themselves. What do you want? How do you address? Because they may be aware of certain things already, but they may be myths or maybe facts. All these things we keep. It's a dynamic process. Yeah, thank you.
I would like to come to my last question. And what kind of challenges do you experience when fostering this life skills approach? Maybe also focusing on boys and the male communities. Do you face challenges, or is there an open space, or are they? Yeah, maybe you can say something.
Challenges are plenty. We can't say that everything is free. Everything they have understood. No. It's, as I said, it's a dynamic process. You don't know when you see what is happening. When we say we are sometimes we're empowering. Empowerment goes with a very big challenge. Empowerment means something else for others. That means, oh, they are losing the control. Still now they are under our control. Now the girls are talking. They're expressing their views. That's also a challenge. It's not that some people they may appreciate, but again for the domination, that kind of a thing. It's a challenge how to tackle with them. So they're learning a lot. That's why we bring, along with freedom, along with their rights, also responsibilities. Responsibilities doesn't mean that you have to obey. It is to have understanding. Even your resistance should be with the compassion, with the kind of equanimity. You have to say, and especially again, this is the another strategy. Really work well. Well, it is the no violent discussion. It is a negotiation, how to work with more dialogue or multi-log, I can say, more than dialogue, because you bring everyone together to discuss thing. So the Gandhian values are the non-violent values, non-violent approach, and ultimately how you can, it looks Ethiopian, when we talk like this, but there's the attempts still going on. I can't say that we achieved everything, but this is how the strategies we can include in our own pedagogy, to bring into peace. Education is part of it. Peace means, what does it mean, peace? It's not absence of non-violence. It is absence of violence. It is love, compassion. So how do you love? Again, it's not like a kind of, narrow understanding of love. It's also how encompassing love, how universal it can be. And this helps us step by step to reach out to the global citizenship, what I understand ultimately. So it is not my family, it is not my community alone, it is not my village alone, or not my, district or the state alone. Not just, again, don't get into the barriers of the boundaries of the nation, but you belong to the world. How you can become a global citizen, a global world. So this is how, it is how the process, it is the attempts. There are plenty of challenges in the process, definitely. But we need to have a lot of patience and to work with. That's the thing.
And
And
to
respect their values, respect their views. In fact, we have to start with respecting their differences.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think this was very, very interesting, and especially the part of nonviolent communication. I think this is in daily life very often not happening, and so everybody can learn a little bit about it. So I just can say thank you very much for your presentation, because we're running out of time now. So I don't know if someone has a last question, please. No? So then thank you very much, Sudha Reddy, for joining us today. Your session has been recorded. So if you want, I can send you later on the recording so you can have a look. And I would like to announce our next Democracy Talk, which will take place on the 21st of May. And then we invited the AECED project. And this is about aesthetic and embodied learning for democracy. So I hope to see you there again. And thank you all very much for joining, and especially to you, Sudha Reddy, for your interesting contribution.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, all the participants. I learned